Hello everyone. So this is a video that's probably going to get some laughter from the old timers or the pros out there or people who've had a lot of metalworking instruction and been doing it for a long time. But it might be useful for people who are latecomers to metalworking as I am and maybe came to it by way of woodworking as I did. And it's just about using some old school metal layout techniques that I've just recently begun employing, and I'll tell you, when I first started with metalworking, I had two modes: either ultra precise, using the digital readout on my mill, where if I had a piece and say this was precision cut, which it's not, it's just a piece of angle iron that's been bandsawed and a little sanding done on it. So if I, like these three holes here, these are just going to be holes that I can attach screws through. This is the kind of thing you could do in a metal, you could cut aluminum on a metal bandsaw. So, even if you're primarily a woodworker, you might be making a little bracket like this for some reason. So if this was some kind of really critical piece where I really needed to locate those holes exactly within thousandths of an inch or whatever, then I would put it on my vise on my mill and find the edge, two edges to find a zero, and then using the DRO I could come over and locate it precisely each point. Whereas if I had to do something like this, where it's you want to make it look pretty, but it doesn't really matter that much. We're just going to put 3 screws in here. I would basically revert to my old woodworking ways. So talk about those. So this is a combination square from it's an antique one from intended primarily for woodworking, and on the face of it there isn't all that much difference between it and this one, which is a metalworking measuring tool. In certain applications, you could get away with swapping the two of them, I'm sure. But notice one thing. With the metalworking one, they went to some pains to make sure that these gradations are deeply etched into here. And you'll use that in metalworking. I don't think that's necessarily the case with the ones designed for woodworking. They were meant to be used visually, and you put a pencil mark. These, you'll actually put points in here, whether you're using dividers or the surface gauge I'm going to show here in a second. So that's one difference. Another is the amount of graduation. So let's see, you have your 1/2 inch, your 1/4 inch, your 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch, your 32nd of an inch, and your 64ths of an inch. Is that in the... I don't know if you can even see that. But that is far more precise than what you would ever use in woodworking. This one does go down to 30 seconds, but you're very unlikely to use that in woodworking. So when I first started with doing the metalworking, and if I was doing something that wasn't all that precise, I would take this, which I related to this, and use basically the same technique. Like this is supposed to be 1 inch. So I'd just do something like this. Instead of a pencil, I'd be using a scribe. I'd go ahead. I don't have any, real bluing, so I just use the magic marker technique. And scribe it. You can even do the thing where you follow along like that. And similarly from the ends. you know, describe it, and it works fine, I guess. But I have an actual surface gauge. I've had that for a while. It's just, you know, I bought a bunch of machinist tools that I didn't even know what they did a long time ago. Well, a few years ago when I first started messing around with this stuff. And this was one of them. It's a beautiful piece, and I see there's some rust starting. I need to take it apart and clean it up and figure out how I can do that without destroying the beautiful finish it's got on it. So I had this, and I've shown this before. This is my cast iron surface plate. That came up as a really good deal one time. Now you don't need a real surface plate. I see some guys on YouTube have these immense granite things that, you know, that originally cost thousands of dollars, and you can spend hundreds getting them perfectly trued and leveled and all this good stuff. For this kind of work, you don't need that. You could use a cast iron top on a table saw. You could even, I would wager, get away with just using a piece of medium density fiberboard or melamine or something like that for this kind of work. But I came across this, I really like it, and so I had this. One of the problems is this was usually covered in junk, but happened to be clean. So I said, hey, let's give a try at the proper way. And you know, not saying every portion of this technique is the proper way, but
hello.
Technical difficulties there. So as I was saying, I decided to go ahead and try doing this what I assume is the proper way. I don't know for sure that I am getting everything right here, but I do have to say that I really felt that this process was just as quick, or could be, after you learned, you know, all the particularly the steps of adjusting that bad boy there. It could be just as quick, and it's just kind of a pleasure to work with these tools like this. Now, alright, so I'm not sure how well that'll show up in the camera. I went ahead and used my magic marker to show the gradation that I wanted here, because the digits get lost. So similar to a magnetic base for a dial indicator, you've got rough adjustments and then fine adjustments, and this is your fine adjustment here. This whole assembly pivots, so as you turn this screw, this will move up and down very precisely. So I've got the vertical bar locked pretty tightly already, and I'm going to get this close, tighten it up really well, then use the precise adjustment to get that tip right in that gradation there. There we go. So, pretty quick, and I think with practice it would get a lot quicker. think I need to get a new magic marker or some real bluing fluid. But perfect scribe there. Stop. I mean, not sure you can see it. Same thing. Get it sort of most of the way there. Tighten down. Oops. Tighten down really well. And bring it dead on. And I need to sharpen that point, like I said. Also, I believe this point should be sharpened as well from just the other ones that I've seen pictures of. Alright. Oops. And this thing is 12 inches. I know I want to divide it in half. So 6 right there. Make sure you can see. There you go. I just think that's a neat little system that once you get used to using will be just as fast as the old woodchucking method and a lot more accurate. Plus you just get to use really cool old tools. These things don't cost very much. You can find them on eBay. And if you don't want to wait to find some old antique thing like this, you can get the height gauges, the ones that are basically like they have a scale going up. The old ones had verniers. Actually, I have a great big one. I'll show it to you. Yeah, this is really too big to be useful to me, most likely. It's just one of those things I picked up, and it's incomplete. It should have some accessories that go on here, one of which is a carbide tip that can be used just like that little pointer on the surface gauge to do scribes. You can also mount indicators on it to really precisely determine the height of a piece. Which you can use the vernier scale here if you knew how to use it, and I can never remember. I've tried to learn that, and I mean, my old eyes, I just really have difficulty with that. But I just think if you're getting into metalworking, you ought to try to learn the old layout techniques, and this is something you can do pretty cheaply. All you really need, assuming you've got a flat surface of some kind, which, like I said, a table saw would be a great one. Pick one of these up for 20 or 30 bucks, or you can get the modern version of this, like a Chinese copy one. Get a little 6-inch one with a dial caliper and everything. Well, not a dial indicator on it, and a carbide scribe on it. You can get that from Grizzly for like 30 or 40 bucks, brand new. So flat surface, some kind of a marking tool, and a scale, and you can perform your layouts with a much higher degree of precision than you were doing previously. I like it. I hope you find that useful. And old timers can stop laughing.